Welcome back to Big Riff Energy, episode 44. It's Tuesday, January 16th. 2 weeks down out of 52. What are y'all doing? Think about it. Only got 50 more weeks to go. Make something happen. I am going to try my hardest to stick to my weekly commitment with this podcast. I will say, been in the studio for a week and it's been great. But when I'm making a record, I'm making a record. That's what I'm doing. I don't really go into stuff half-assed or, you know, I'm not a dabbler. So when I'm making a record, it's like it takes priority over literally everything. Health, hygiene, family, sanity, life, other obligations out the window. They don't exist. That's the only way to do it, man. And I don't want to talk too specifically about the music that we're making and that sort of thing. But I will just say there is nothing I love more than having an idea in your head and then building it in a recording studio and hearing it back and getting those glimpses of what you've only really heard in your head to this point, of what no other human being has heard. And then suddenly, there it is. It exists outside of your own mind. It's great, man. It is really one of the most fulfilling and joyful experiences and processes that a human being can have, and anybody can do it. I get a lot of emails asking about how to start recording at home, how to start an instrument. It's never been easier. It's never been easier. There's so many resources. YouTube alone, you could learn enough if you invest enough time to be a professional recording engineer or producer. If you put in enough hours, you just really have to put in the hours. And I encourage everybody to do it because, man, making something meaningful is just really like my favorite thing in the world. So cool. That being said, I'm not going to do much visual editing and stuff like that on the next few episodes until I'm done making this record. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. Today, going to be talking about a couple of, what is it? Hellenic black metal masterpieces. I've been wanting to talk about the last Varathron album for a while now. It came out in November. I bought a shirt. I guess it's coming from Europe, and I guess they're having to like harvest the cotton to make the fucking shirt or something because it's still not here. And I bought the record too, and that's still not here, but I've lost my patience. So I'm going to give a rundown of the latest Varathron album, The Crimson Temple, and also talk about this record behind me that just showed up from 20 Bucks Spin, Rotting Christ, Triarchy of the Lost Lovers. It's a scene I wasn't so familiar with growing up. I was more into like first wave metal bands, you know, Sabbath, Priest, Tampa, Florida death metal, and Bay Area thrash metal. But I keep an open mind, and I keep saying I'm not typically a black metal guy, but this stuff from Greece is like really, really cool. So I will give my thoughts on those albums at the end of the episode. I'm going to hit some emails. Seb, no questions today. Just wanted to wish you the best for 2024. A lot of success with Spirit Adrift, of course, with your new music you teased in your last podcast, but most importantly, to be happy, healthy, and to take care of your family and friends. I saw you will tour in Europe. That's cool, even if no French date. Seb is my friend from France, if you don't remember. I unfortunately won't be able to travel to see you play anywhere since my wife and I are expecting a baby girl. Quite exciting, a bit terrifying too. Maybe next time I'll have to buy a ticket for her and myself. Take care. I'm sure 2024 will be a blast. Dude, congrats. I like you a lot, Seb. You got a good vibe and a good energy. And I can just tell you're a good guy. You're going to be a good dad. That's awesome, man. You touched on something in this that came up a lot in the emails this week and has kind of been a theme of life post-COVID. We had a global eye-opening experience. And if it didn't make you examine your priorities, I don't know, you might need to examine your priorities. But yeah, he said here, most importantly, to be happy, healthy, and take care of your family and friends. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. What makes you happy? What makes you healthy? And how can you best take care of your family and friends? And nothing else matters. Congrats, Seb. Right on, man. Hopefully we'll see each other before too long. Best of luck with all that. Chase, hey Nate, I really enjoyed your most recent podcast. I particularly enjoyed when you talked about the guy playing the synthesizer, Mike Dean. Not COC Mike Dean, but hip-hop royalty Mike Dean. I have my own musical preferences, but ever since I started playing guitar, anytime I'm listening to different genres of music or music in general, I find myself taking a step back and appreciating people for the killer musicians that they are. Playing an instrument or singing takes a lot of hard work and dedication, and I feel like people take that for granted these days. Man, yeah, it's important to keep an open mind. Like I said, the records I'm going to talk about today, when I was younger, I wasn't interested in Greek black metal at all, but I kept an open mind, and now, this Rotting Christ record behind me and the last two Varathron records in particular are some of my favorite albums. You can find meaningful stuff in genres that might not necessarily be your thing. And genre is kind of weird anyway. We just rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino movie. I think it's probably actually my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It's the only one that'll bring you to tears in a couple spots. But I was like glancing at stuff online, and I saw that it was, according to just like a cursory Google search, when they have the genre under the movie, it says, what does it say? Comedy/Western. And it's like, really? People to this day, I will see people call Spirit Adrift everything from stoner metal, which I don't think that's ever been an appropriate tag. People call High on Fire stoner metal just because one of the dudes was in Sleep once upon a time. Yeah, we've been called everything from stoner metal to doom to not doom to whatever, trad metal. Everybody started using that as like trying to force a catchy little phrase to make young kids excited about it or something. It's meaningless, man. It's meaningless. I've referenced this before on this podcast, but one of the things that I've experienced that stuck with me the most, and perhaps it's because I already believed this, and then I had somebody who obviously knows what they're doing confirm it. I'll just never forget when I went to see Dave Lombardo do a drum clinic, and he played drums, and it was cool to see him up that close and personal with hardly anybody there, oddly enough. But what was cooler was he just sort of talked and answered questions, kind of like what I'm doing on here. And he talked about how important it is to not limit yourself to what you are willing to experience. And he was talking about that in the context of music. He was like, he got the fill in the double bass break in Angel of Death. Brum, 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 brum. That tom thing, that's called flams. You're hitting the same drum with both hands. One of the hands is slightly ahead of the other. So you hear the two hits, but they're real close together, right? Brum, 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 brum. He got that from Cuban steel drum music because he's Cuban. So he grew up hearing that stuff. Now, if he'd only listened to Merciful Fate and Judas Priest, if all four guys in Slayer only listened to Merciful Fate and Judas Priest, which were kind of their mutual favorite bands, they would have just sounded like Merciful Fate and Judas Priest. which the first album does just kind of sound like Merciful Fate. But the magic happened because Hanneman came in with the super fast hardcore punk stuff, and Lombardo's percussion background with that Latin American and Cuban, just like expert level percussion type music. You put that all together, you get Slayer. You get something special, you know. And yeah, I think it's important to just not limit yourself in terms of what you're willing to experience. Not just musically, but just life experience, who you're willing to hang out with, who you're willing to talk to, where you're willing to go, what kind of movies you're willing to watch, you know. I'm not too interested in comedy / westerns. I like maybe Blazing Saddles. I guess that's kind of like the be all end all, right? Canceled. So if I thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a comedy western, probably wouldn't be that interested in it. But it's so much more than that. And yeah, I talked a lot about hip hop in the last episode. And by the way, NPR's bitch ass hit me with a copyright thing. YouTube's kind of a pain in the ass. Wonder if they're going to demonetize me for talking about how they're kind of Nazis in their policies. And of all things, you would think that NPR would understand that my last video was fair use reaction / commentary video. Fucking morons. Look it up, man. So I probably won't be putting any more video or definitely not any audio accompaniment on this podcast because I'm sick of getting hit with YouTube copyright complaints. Fucking pain in the ass. All right, Murray. I know you were talking about New Orleans underground music. Did you ever listen to Asa Crooks at the time? They are really neat. Murray, I don't think that I did. That doesn't really ring a bell, but I'll definitely check them out. I was cruising around the other day and saw, well, there's the Noisy documentary about New Orleans that was made in like the 2010s, I think, which is okay. But I found one that looks like it was put together by a local, and Jason Petrozelli or something like that. And it was from the mid 90s, and it had a bunch of acid bath footage, Crowbar, and a couple of bands that I wasn't super familiar with. I think one was called Abuse, and that was really cool. Check out the mid 90s New Orleans underground, I guess, documentary. It's a lot of live footage and stuff. But dude, so many good bands from New Orleans. Even like the later period stuff like Harp, Haarp. Does anybody remember that band? When I was living in Arkansas, I was actually trying to decide where to move. And I saw that Harp was looking for a guitar player. And I reached out to him and sort of introduced myself, told him what bands I had been in and stuff. Name dropped a couple people, and they were going to give me a tryout. So I was thinking about moving to New Orleans and joining that band Harp. They were on Housecore, Anselmo's label. And, you know, to me, I'm like, oh, if you're on Phil Anselmo's label, that's a big deal. You've made it. I need to be in that band, right? And it's a good thing it didn't end up happening because I love that band still. So heavy. Check them out if you haven't. Haarp. That's like the government's alleged weather control technology. Weaponized weather control. What does it stand for? High altitude something research project. Thor is probably going to write me an email about that. But yeah, you know, that subject comes up in an email here in a minute about like looking on the other side of the fence, thinking the grass is greener, not realizing, you know, what's actually going on. I thought I wasn't really up to shit in Arkansas, thinking that joining Harp was going to be like my big break. Ended up moving to Phoenix instead. But I do love that band, man. So many crazy bands. Spickle, Mystic Crew of Clearlight, Bauer's instrumental band. Y'all heard that? It's like, God damn, it's good. Instrumental, like almost like Allman Brothers, Sabbath, Skinner worship with really good guitar parts, and Big Ross playing organ. He played all the keyboards on the Great Southern Trendkill, and Lil Daddy from I Hate God on drums. I forget who else was. Paul Webb, one of the best guitarists in New Orleans. Yeah, Mystic Crew of Clearlight, Harp. I mentioned Hogjaw last time, Gary Mader's band. Just a million of them. So many good bands. I saw 2-3 people texted me new promo photo 2024 Down getting back to work. If Down wants to take us on tour, count me in. Count me in. Steve, hi Nate, I really enjoy your podcast and look forward to watching every week. Been watching since episode number 1. I love your passion for everything metal and how you live and breathe heavy music. It's true. I have struggled with addiction since adolescence and have attempted many times to get clean and sober. Your music has really inspired me, and I have picked up the guitar for the first time in a long time. Hell yeah. I just wanted to let you know that your music and your podcast is one of the things that has got me through the past couple of months. Thank you, and can't wait to hear new Spirit Adrift music. Regards and respect. Steve, hell yeah, man. I've had a tumultuous life, I'll say that. I've done some very, very difficult things physically, mentally, logistically. The hardest thing I've ever done by far was get sober. That was by easily number one. And I've done some real hard shit. I can do 100,000 push-ups, and that's easier than getting sober. So just keep at it, man. Keep at it. Send me an email if you have any questions. What else? Oh, yeah, Steve said, can't wait to hear new Spirit Adrift music. I appreciate that. And I'm always working on Spirit Adrift music. Just want to clarify, the stuff I'm recording right now is not Spirit Adrift music. It's a brand new project. Matt, I had been thinking about emailing for, oh, this is a good one. I kind of vetted this one, man, because I saw a few keywords that intrigued me. Okay, Matt, y'all ready? This is great shit. I had been thinking about emailing for a while to say that I've really been enjoying the podcast. It's interesting that so many parts of your story line up with my life, but small differences in circumstances or decisions led to divergent paths. You know what's funny, Matt? I feel the same way when I watch or listen to Joey Diaz's podcast, oddly enough. He's a lot older than me, a lot different life circumstances coming up. But I'm like, dude, if we had grown up together, we've been best friends. Like, it's like I'm hearing myself talk sometimes, and it's interesting just to see where people that we really resonate with end up based on sort of like arbitrary crossroads in life, you know? So I understand exactly what you mean. Okay, Matt continues to say, I'm about the same age as you from Central PA, honorary rednecks, dude. I'm going to keep diverting off of Matt's email. I'm sorry, it's so frustrating. I went and saw Joe Bob Briggs do this like dissertation called How Rednecks Saved Hollywood. And he went all the way back to the old country, jolly old England, to pinpoint the origin of the term redneck and where it came from and how it started. And I guess it was Presbyterians like breaking away from the super indoctrinated type shit and coming over here. But a lot of them ended up in Pennsylvania. And some of my best buds that I've ever met are people from Pennsylvania. I call you guys honorary rednecks as a compliment. I love people from Pennsylvania, man. Okay, anyway. I grew up discovering 80s thrash metal and then exploring the extreme corners of music, dreaming of being in a professional touring metal band. In my early 20s, my band, who was about to sign a record deal and put out our first record, imploded. Yep. With about half of the band members leaving to devote time to a side project, and I learned that there are people who fear success. Most people. Within the same month, I was one of 6 people who traveled to Boston to formally try out to be the new guitarist in the Red Chord, and I didn't make the cut. Rather than pick myself up and keep kicking ass like you did, I got really down and depressed and haven't been in an originals band ever since. Man, to be fair though, dude, depending on what year this was, the Red Chord kind of stopped being a band up until recently. So you might have been sitting around with your dick in your hand, which I'm sure you're aware of. Okay, Matt says, I thought a lot about some of the bits you shared from the Peter Steele book about the grass always being greener. Back then, I thought a lot about my motivations for seeking a life in the music industry. And I do think there was a big element of seeking external validation. I would read interviews and books about artists who made it to the absolute peak of success and still found out they were miserable because they thought fame and success would fill that hole in them, whether it's self-doubt or insecurity or the need to feel loved, and it never does. For this reason and others, had I pursued a life in music at that time, I'm not sure I would have made it out the other side. I play music for my own personal enjoyment more than seeking bands or playing live these days. And while I miss interactions with bandmates and friends and the joys of being creative, there's a lot of other bullshit that comes with it that I don't miss. Matt has some more, but I'm gonna address some of what he said here. If your happiness is based on external factors, other people's opinions of you, if your self-worth is based on what other people think or say about you, you will never have a sense of self-worth. We're getting TED Talk, motivational speaker and shit, but I've heard dudes that are super fulfilled, stable, have everything I want, who are 10, 20, 30, 40 years older than me. Marcus Aurelius, the fucking great philosophers, a lot of people who make it and have everything that I want, you know, true peace and internal prosperity, they all arrive at some of the same conclusions, and that's one of them. And dude, I just relate so much to this whole story. I had the same thing. I had a band that I was like betting the house on. And I, what was I? 2008, we went to Chicago because I saw Obama get elected, which was like, I'm not political, I don't give a shit, but to see Obama give his inauguration speech in Chicago, this is just an aside, but man, holy shit, that was something else. Dudes were pulling out blunts and sparking them up. It's just the whole city was like one giant free-for-all. But anyway, that band that went to Chicago to record, I had pretty much all my eggs in that basket, and it just, man, doesn't work out sometimes. But it's the motivations, you know. So much of the music that I've made and the bands that I've been in, there's a lot of thought of like, oh, maybe we'll get to play with this band. Oh, maybe this publication will like it. Oh, maybe we'll get mentioned by these people, or maybe we'll get this label to. And like every time I had that intention, it didn't work out. Every time that I've had the intention of, holy shit, that thing I just wrote is awesome and made me feel good, it works out. That's just a fact of the universe. And you should apply that to everything. Assuming you're not some kind of total sociopath or just bad person, you know, doing things that are positive and constructive make us feel good, and we should just like do what makes us feel good and what helps others. That's it. And like, fuck so-and-so magazine if they aren't interested, or what, like none of that shit matters. None of that shit matters. And you know, Matt said, what's the line that really hit me, man? Yeah, read interviews and books about artists who made it to the absolute peak of success and still found out they were miserable. Listen, man, I said it a couple weeks ago to my buddies. When Corey Taylor's out here canceling tours because he's like, if you read between the lines, he's basically like, I'm about to fucking kill myself because I'm so miserable. That's proof right there, because on paper, like, how could you have any more quote unquote success than a guy like Corey Taylor? Money, beautiful wife, family, super successful band, fame. Fame is not attractive to me at all, but I think it's a motivator for a lot of people that start bands, unfortunately. Even if it's just like 15K Instagram follower fame, which is just fucking pathetic. That's like the most busted ass ideal of fame possible. Is even more disgusting than wanting to be like Michael Jordan famous. But yeah, none of that shit made Corey Taylor happy, you know? We live in a world where Chris Cornell killed himself, man. Think about that. Think about that. That, like, the whole entire world agrees that Chris Cornell is one of the most talented rock musicians that ever lived. One of the greatest vocalists that ever lived. You can make the case that he's the best rock vocalist that ever lived, and it wouldn't be out of line to make that case. And look what happened, man. It's just, you don't know what people are dealing with. And it's that grass is always greener on the other side thing, man. I even, like, when we were in Europe last year, we were in the Netherlands. I had a great day in the Netherlands. We played Into the Grave. Fucking amazing day. Hung out with Municipal Waste like all day. It was Ryan's birthday. Hung out with the dudes from Clutch, Monster Magnet. It was just like a party. So many cool bands, and saw Earthless. But I was awake for almost like 40 hours. And when I got back to the hotel, I was like convinced I wasn't going to be able to sleep, that I had like fried my brain and that I was permanently awake. And it was like one of the most overwhelming experiences I've ever had. I didn't have a bad day or nothing like that, but I remember like feeling like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and I was like, damn, like this is how dudes end up not making it. I think you only have so many of those in you, you know? It's like a fighter getting knocked out. Like you only got so many of those in you until a strong gust of wind comes along and you're knocked out on the ground, you know? So I think like psychically, you only have so many of those in you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the rest of Matt's email here. Matt, this is one of the most thought-provoking emails anybody has sent me. Thank you, man. I'm basically, the whole episode's going to be off of this thing. Okay, I really relate to your comments about saturated year-end lists filled with music nobody talks about in the ensuing years. At the same time, it becomes harder to wade through the haystack of new music to find the needle that really sticks with me. It's interesting to hear the perspective of someone who came up in music around the same time I did, struggling with the same issue, and I've wondered if this is just what it always feels like, getting old and aging out of what's the new in thing. It feels like a page really turned around the 2010s and very little innovation has happened since that time. Highlights since then for me have been Mutoid Man, Iron Reagan, Outer Heaven, Horrendous, and Black Breath. My mind frequently goes back to the phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, and I do wonder if today, with the whole history of music and all these resources at our fingertips, if it isn't somewhat stifling our collective creativity. Yeah, you know, they made Halloween on like $100,000. They were painting squashes orange to be pumpkins because there was like a pumpkin shortage because it was the wrong time of year. And look what Halloween did. This is somewhat echoed in your more recent episode about the loss of music scenes and geographical identity. Yeah, I'm going to shout out Enter Arma. You talked about 2010s and later. I think the best band post 2010s is Enter Arma. Paul Bearer's up there for me as well. All those bands you mentioned are cool, good dudes, good bands. Enter Arma is the best band post 2010. And yeah, it might be a little bit like we're getting old and aging out of what is the new in thing, but the only resistance I will put up to that idea is that I have never really even been in tune or interested with what's in or whatever. Like, if I was into a band that happened to be cool at the time, it was almost like coincidental, because getting into music in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was getting into stuff from the 70s first, you know, Sabbath, Lynyrd Skynyrd. And then it was like, I think the first contemporary band that I really started getting into was High on Fire, and then I Hate God. And just so you know, High on Fire and I Hate God haven't always been like hand tattoo, OnlyFan, goth girl, Psycho Las Vegas bands. There was a time when they weren't like super hip or cool. They were just whatever, underground bands that would probably play to like, dude, even in, I used to go to New Orleans all the time. And even in like 2006, late 2006, I went to New Orleans and saw I Hate God play 2 nights back to back in a place that probably held, don't kill me, anybody, and I Hate God if you're listening, but I want to see, what was the fucking place called? Chicken something. Chicken Shack or some shit. It held like 50 people, maybe. And that was it. I mean, the year before that, I saw him at One Eyed Jacks and it was packed, so whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. There are some hip bands now that I like for sure. But I just think, I could talk for a fucking hour about all of the variables and phenomenon that occurred to make this happen. But one thing I think about a lot is, like back in the Napster days, you had one side, which was Lars Ulrich and Dr. Dre and some other dudes that were like, yo, if we say that it's okay to take people's music for free, it's going to fuck up the future of music. I'll remind you who is on the other side of that. Fred Durst. So you can, I don't know, pick your side. Lars Ulrich and Dr. Dre or Fred Durst. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out who was probably right. But it's like, if you take value away from something and you accept that something is now free, the quality of that thing is going to fucking plummet, because the people that are good at that thing aren't going to do it for free, that's one I mean, there's like a million things. The structuring, Rick Beato did a video about like the corruption in the music industry that started in the mid 90s. I think Clinton signed some kind of bill that consolidated every fucking radio station in the country. So now 2 companies own every radio station. I was talking about this in the studio the other day with my good buddy Jeff Henson from Duel, who's helping me with this new record. It was like, I was reading the Typo Negative book, and Roadrunner Records had a dude that was taking the singles to the hottest like rock DJ in New York. And he was showing up at his door every fucking day, just like brutalizing this guy. He's like, I'm not playing this weird black #1 song. This is like not what our listeners want to hear. This is fucking weird. I don't get it. And this dude, I forget the guy's name at Roadrunner, but he said, he was just an old school New Yorker. He just said in the book, like, I was going to fucking die before I let this guy not play Typo Negative on the radio. And he just showed up over and over and over and over. There's nowhere to show up anymore. Where are you going to go to Clear Channel's corporate office? They're not even going to know what you're talking about. Like, there's not even a person that, it's just like such a, it's become such a fucking bureaucratic corporate structure that there's not any cool guys like making calls to play new bands and like giving bands their new break. The touring thing's the same way. Metallica got a big ass break in 1986 from Ozzy. Metallica only takes bands on tour that are already like firmly successful and established. Nobody's got any fucking balls anymore. And part of that is because there's no money in it anymore. Compared to what it used to be, there's literally no money in it. So these big ass, Metallica's infrastructure, I'm sure, is like sort of mimics like corporate bureaucracy, right? They can't take a risk of taking out some unknown bands and then they don't kill it every single night with ticket sales, because so many people that are taking their 10% or whatever, or even, guitar techs and roadies and drivers, and these big ass bands can't afford to take the risk of taking out lesser known bands. It just doesn't really happen anymore, which is a shame, because Ozzy did it for you guys, but now they're just cucks to their managers, just like the rest of them. Prove me wrong. I fucking dare you. Okay, Nick, I'm a saxophonist and drummer, and I've really been enjoying your videos and music these past few months. Your videos are a breath of fresh air from the many algorithm worshiping music YouTubers that I see on the platform. I understand you have to put food on the table somehow, but it's not what I'm into. Yeah, I just saw a thing pop up. Some fucking dirtbag. Well, the real reason that Slipknot fired Jay Weinberg, dirty secrets, juicy shit. Go fuck yourself, dude. That's a person, asshole. Jay Weinberg is a fucking person, just like you. And he's probably 1,000 times more talented and smart and cool and better looking than you. Fuck yourself, dude. I joined a band a few months ago where I play drums, and it's been really fun getting to play songs I like with other musicians. Just before Thanksgiving, we played our first set and posted it to YouTube. After watching it, my uncle told me that I was very talented and that I had something he could never have. He went on to say that he just never had it musically. I pointed out that he never really put the time in to try playing an instrument, and we ended up debating in circles. What's your opinion on the idea of talent versus the idea of perseverance and discipline? Nick, I think you already know the answer to this. It's a topic that I debate in my head constantly, and I would like to know your thoughts. I'm really excited to see you guys on tour this year, and keep up the Big Riff energy. Thanks, dude. If you have talent and you don't work hard, it's the same as not having talent. So there you go. There's your answer. If you don't have talent and you work hard enough, you can be better at something than somebody that does have 1,000 times the talent that you do. That's just a fact. That's just a fact, man. You can see that everywhere. You know, the stuff I'm interested in is like MMA and music. I like movies and stuff, but those are the two things that I'm interested in. And Henry Rollins, I think he would agree that he is 99% hard work and 1% talent. And look at what he's done. In MMA, who would it be? I don't know. There's plenty of fighters who are just like not that physically gifted, and they just work really, really hard. And then there's dudes that are incredibly physically gifted, but they can't stop smoking weed and can't figure out what weight class they want to be in. And they don't see the kind of success that the dudes that work hard do. It's just a fact. Like, if you're talented and work hard, that's a, you know, that's a Tom Petty. That's a Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. But if you're talented and you don't work hard, you know, it's like worthless. It's worthless. And like, there's nothing more repulsive than someone that has like the air of like being special or whatever. Nobody's special. We're all just honks of fucking organic flesh hanging on a skeleton, you know, on a fucking rock that's on fire flying around in the void. Nobody's special. So you got to work hard. And dude, like, I remember getting like my first guitar VHS tape showing you how to like play chords and stuff. And when I went to do a G chord, I was like, somehow in my mind, I convinced myself the guy on this tape is wrong because my hand doesn't do that. My fingers don't do that. It's not possible for my hand to do that. So if everybody just succumbed to their first impulse when faced with something that takes hard work, you know, there wouldn't be any guitar players, because that first little thing is hard. It seems like impossible, you know. So hard work's better than talent. More effective than talent for sure. Kirk, hey, wanted to shout out Lando, whose story you shared in the last podcast, for sharing his situation. It did help me, and I'm sure others that heard. My heart goes out to him and his family. A few years ago, I got diagnosed with a rare cancer that historically doesn't have a great survival rate. Shortly after the thing with my dog, RC, and the birth of my son. I remember that, Kirk. God damn, the hits keep coming, dude. The thing that I think a lot of people who haven't been in desperate situations or maybe haven't had concrete problems, as you said, don't understand the mental battles that you have to fight on a daily or sometimes hourly basis to make it through and just keep going and stay sane. To me, it's always helpful to know that there are other people out there struggling with their own battles and you aren't alone. Even when you feel like the weight of the situation is too much and it's going to crush you and you're just tired of holding all that fucking weight, just know that there are other people out there that know that feeling. One of the reasons I love music is that for me, it is a medium that can convey those feelings. Sometimes you hear a riff or a beat or a vocal and you know that the person on the other side of that has fucking bled just like you. You know that they have been under that weight. You can hear those feelings and experiences. Anyway, I think I'm ranting now, but I did appreciate Homeboy sharing his struggle. You are not alone, my friend. Best wishes. Damn, Kirk. Yeah, just hang in there, man. You know what you should do is listen to Crowbar. It sounds to me like all of those issues, when you're talking about hearing somebody sing or play or a lyric or something, and you know that they're fucking in it too, and they've been in it and they've been in something as hard as what you're going through, that's Crowbar to me, man. That, like, the hit in that way, that is the heaviest band ever, period, and there won't be another heavier band. And dude, when I was going through real tough stuff, if you'd have told me that one day I would have a friend and that friend would be Kirk from Crowbar, I just wouldn't have believed you, man. I wouldn't have believed you. And if I hadn't kept going, and if I'd have succumbed to all that type of shit that Kirk, who wrote me, is talking about, I would have never had that experience. And there's moments where you think like, it's over, man. It's over. And, you know, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I got a real dear friend who says, you know, you think it's all over. You're convinced it's over. And then the phone rings. And the phone ringing could be anything. But that's just, you know, the only way to find out is to get to the next day. And who knows what you'd be missing out on if you don't get to the next day. Anyway, that's it, man. I've been, you know, the last episode, I was kind of lamenting the status of the touring thing. And a lot of people wrote me and, you know, oh, it's sad or whatever. I want to clarify, man, and I think it's fitting with what the themes here ended up being today. Like I said, I've had a very tumultuous experience in this life. And there's been some cool stuff. There's been some fucking awful stuff I wouldn't wish on anybody. And, you know, there's been the hunt for external validation, like Matt was talking about, and all that stuff. And I have somehow managed to get to a place. I'm going self-help therapy session here. I've gotten to a place where I have everything I need. I have everything I need, and I've done everything I need to do. The only thing I need to do that I haven't done yet is finish this record that I'm working on. And if something happens and we get hit with a nuclear missile or something, that doesn't happen, that's fine, whatever. But I have everything I need. And if all my material possessions went away tomorrow, I would still have everything I need. And that's no bullshit, man. That's no bullshit. And me ranting and raving about the fucking slimy touring shit last episode, it's not so much for me. Like, I just don't participate in it. I have the choice. You know, I don't need to go on tour with anybody. I love to go on tour with Down if they want to take us, but I don't need to. And I'm not going to suck anybody's dick, literally or metaphorically, in order to do anything, because I don't need to. Nothing wrong if that's your thing. It's just not my thing. And I mentioned Lars and Dr. Dre, you know, earlier with the Napster shit. I really do believe that they were thinking about the slippery slope that was going on, and like, what's going to happen to music and kids that want to start bands and kids that want to be rappers and stuff in the future if we say it's okay to just take people's shit for free. I give them the benefit of the doubt that they were actually thinking about that. And in the same respect, like, I'm not comparing myself to those dudes, they're legends, whatever. But in the same respect, when I'm ranting and raving about the touring thing, it's not because I'm that affected by it. I don't spend my day hunting down people on email, kissing people's ass, calling people. I don't give a fuck. If you want us to come play, let me know and we'll do it. But it's just, I'm worried about like where this is all headed. And I'm worried that there's so many great bands that do have musical talent, that do put in hard work, and for whatever reason, they are not being afforded the same opportunities as bands that are objectively dog shit, but might check some of the correct boxes. That's worrisome to me. That's worrisome. When you start prioritizing things other than good songs, good playing, meaningful music, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We're just going to be listening to a refrigerator hum with fucking lawnmower vocals for the rest of our lives, but it'll check all the right boxes. So don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to talk about Greek black metal. Like I said, I wanted to wait to talk about the Varathron album because I wanted to be wearing my Crimson Temple shirt and have it behind me, but fucking neither one of them are here. I'm going to talk about Rotting Christ, Triarchy of Lost Lovers first. This is one of my favorite albums ever made. Like I said last time, don't let the name fool you. There's a lot of melody here. It's a really meaningful piece of work. I don't know what pressing this is or whatever, but we got a little liner note here from Sakis on behalf of Rotting Christ. Here you are holding our third full-length album, Triarchy of the Lost Lovers, an album that was conjured and recorded under an intense inner search, which resulted in maybe the most soulful album we ever created. We welcome you to our majestic world and hope you will enjoy your trip into the glorious 90s black metal sound. I was reading a little bit about this record the other day, and he spoke, or it might have even been somebody's YouTube comment on the King of a Stellar War song on YouTube. But this guy talked about, the dude from Rotting Christ was talking about how they were a 4-piece and a dude left. And so it left them as a trio, a triarchy. And they were lost. They're trying to now find their way as a trio. And the lovers thing refers to how much they loved their music and just music in general. I thought that was super cool, man. It's rare that, for me, that a black metal band will be that profound and romantic with their intentions. I know it's like spooky. Everybody's doing spooky manifestations and all that shit, but I just thought that was cool. But what's weird is it says Rotting Christ are Necro Mayhem, Mutilator, and Necrosauron. So I don't know if the two guys are related or what, but I guess Necro Mayhem is actually Sakis. And again, I don't like all that shit. It's corny, whatever. I will say I did go see Rotting Christ in Austin, and it was the most evil thing I've ever seen. And not like, look at my costume, look at my face paint, look at how tough and scary I am. It was like the kind of satanic, like trying to whip up the fervor of like real old school Satanism from the angle of like, what do these fucking idiots say? Like Satan represents freedom and love and the unbridled spirit, that kind of Satanism, which is cool. Like, it's fucking nonsense when you really like delve into it. It's complete and utter fucking fantasy Disney goddamn nonsense. But when somebody believes in, like, it's the Woven Hand thing, dude from Woven Hand's a Christian. When somebody believes something that much and they're really trying to whip up some kind of real energy or whatever you want to call it. I like it, man. And Rotting Christ was like evil, powerful, so good. And so many good guitar solos and harmonies and melodies. This is my favorite album they've ever done by far. It's really kind of like one long movement. It's almost just like one long ass song. And it's so good. I mean, just like goosebumps the whole time. So much emotion, so much love, man. Triarchy of the Lost Lovers. You don't associate love with like evil and black metal and stuff, but he just talked about how much they love the music. You know, that's what it's all about. So Varathron, another, I would say the big two of Greek black metal are Rotting Christ and Varathron. And the last two Varathron records I love. They just put this Crimson Temple record out, put it up on the screen. Last year, the legend himself, Paolo Girardi, did like probably my favorite album Marty's ever done. And he did individual pieces for each song. I'm still waiting on the fucking vinyl. I don't know where it is, but so the album before this was actually my introduction to the band. Like I said, I've never was into Greek black metal or whatever. And I was missing out, man. But the album before this new one was called The Patriarchs of Evil. I think it was 2015, somewhere around, I don't know, somewhere around there. 2013, don't quote me. But that one is really, really good. Really good. And this new one, Crimson Temple, I would say probably just as good. It's different. Man, the singer for Varathron, he sounds like he's doing legitimate like incantations. There is so much, it's like so bombastic and theatrical. And it really sounds like the dude is legitimately giving a sermon or trying to like summon up some kind of ancient evil, you know? And this is such a cool part of the world where this music is coming from. You know, think about ancient Greece and everything that was going on. They saw Christianity rise up when it was like a legitimate cult, like a little weird cult thing. Marcus Aurelius, Roman, granted, but similar time period and similar geographical location. He talks at the end of Meditations about like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this weird thing popping up called Christianity. I'm sure that if they know what they're doing, they'll arrive at the same conclusions that all of the great, you know, philosophers and religious minds have. Something to that effect. But I think that's in these dudes' blood. This like ancient source of power and big ass riff energy, man. You are dug into some serious archaic riff energy, I think, when you're on that ground where all that history has occurred, you know. And it's got a very Varathron and Rotting Christ, and I'm sure whatever other bands from that scene. I've tried to listen to other bands, but I just don't think any of them are as good. I don't know. I'm not trying to prove how underground I am. Just want to listen to cool riffs. But Varathron and Rotting Christ, and like I said, I'm sure those other bands have a common thread musically and spiritually, and there's definitely like a regional sound, as we've talked about last couple episodes. But I highly recommend all these albums. Rotting Christ, Triarchy of Lost Lovers, Varathron, Patriarchs of Evil, and then the newest Varathron album, Crimson Temple. Crimson Temple's like real spooky. You guys remember in the 2000s when the gal from Dead Can Dance was doing all the scores for films? Like I think Hans Zimmer and her would team up. So like the things that come to mind are Gladiator and like Black Hawk Down and The Mist. Anything like taking place in the Middle East, but then also The Mist, oddly enough. And there's like a female, that shit. Some of the new Varathron albums sounds kind of like that. You feel like you're in, I don't know, like the open air market that the priest is in The Exorcist, you know? Something bad's about to happen. I don't know what instruments they're playing, if it's like bouzoukis or, you know, like Middle Eastern and Greek instruments and weird percussion, and it sounds like you are a participant in something like truly foreboding and diabolical. And I like it. But it's also, you know, like Necro Wizard or whatever says, it's like majestic, you know? It's a majestic journey. Said something like that. So yeah, that's it. That's my take on Greek black metal. I like it a lot. It checks the big Riff Energy box, which is the only box that I give a shit about, and the only box anybody should give a shit about. Okay, back to the studio, and I'll try to knock another one of these out in time for next week. And I'll see you then, and if not, at least you know I'm doing something worthwhile. All right, peace.